Welcome everyone back to my channel. If this is your first time here, welcome to my channel. Pull up a seat, sit down, and let's talk about this book. First section, non-spoiler. Next section will be spoiler review. So, here we go. This is Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare, the Dark Artifices series, book 1. Okay. So, what made me read this book? This is a book set in an Immortal Instruments world, and I wanted to read more about shadow hunters. Because I like the Immortal Instruments, even though I've still got 3 books to read. I like the series. And I will get to it. When I get to it, I gotta first pull the first one, which is City of whatever. So, the only thing I regret is that this has spoilers. Not a lot. Not a lot. It doesn't tell you how it gets from A to B. Well, A to Z, but it does tell you these stuff, a lot of these stuff that is a lot of spoiling stuff. Didn't realize you had to finish the whole thing in order to be able to get that, but hey, you live and you learn. Okay, you live and you learn. You live, you learn, you learn, learn. Got it? So in a secret world where half-angel warriors called shadow hunters are sworn to fight demons, Parabatai is a sacred word. A Parabatai is your best friend and battle partner. Parabatai can be everything to each other, but they can never fall in love. Emma Carstairs is a shadow hunter, best in her generation. Together with her Parabatai, Julian Blackthorn, she patrols the streets of Los Angeles, where fairies, the most powerful supernatural creatures, teeter on the edge of open war with shadow hunters. When bodies, both fairy and human, turn up, bearing marks that match those found in Emma's own murdered parents, an uneasy alliance is formed. This is Emma's chance for revenge, and Julian's chance to get his brother, a prisoner of the fairy courts. Prisoner of the fairy courts. All they have to do is solve the murders within 2 weeks, and before the murderer targets them. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, there you go. That's that. Yeah. So this is basically about Emma wanting revenge for the death of parents, because she knows it was not Sebastian Morgenstern who killed her parents, because she's seen how Sebastian Morgenstern deals with shadow hunters, how he murdered them, like Julian. Can't tell you. So she wanted the truth, she wanted revenge. Julian just wanted his family back together. They were torn apart, and he also didn't want the responsibility that he had. That's all I'm going to give you before you get to the non-spoiler section. The spoiler section. So this genre is considered a young adult dark fantasy. I can see it. I can see it. I can really see it. Why are you looking at me like I'm crazy, Kit? I'm not talking to you. I'm talking above you. Did this live up to my expectations? Yes. But like I said, there are a few spoilers if you have not read Immortal Instruments, so go read that first. As far as I could find out, you don't need to worry the clockwork. The infernal devices first. Which is good, because, like, I don't want to be spoiled no more than what I've already been spoiled. Okay. Ooh. Should you go and read this story last series? Yes, it was good. If you love the Mortal Instruments, you would love this too. Obviously, because it's in the Shadow Hunters world, and they obviously drew you in. So, while you slowly back out of the video if you don't want to be spoiled, why don't you go read it and then come back? You think that's a good idea? I think that's a great idea. You should totally do that so we can talk. Or you can listen to me blab. I don't really care. Okay. And if not, well, as you're going, could you leave a like, a comment, or even your lovely subscription down below? Well, down below. That really would help me out, okay? Because I'm trying to go somewhere here. Well, I'm trying to reach more people. I want the world to enjoy the books I do. Or to find a new book, favorite. Because I want you to find a favorite book out of these reviews. I want you to find a favorite series. I want you to find a favorite author. I just want you to find something And if it doesn't click with you, that's okay. As long as you try new books, it doesn't harm nothing. Oh, okay. Okay, so we'll move on to the next part. Spoiler section. This starts off not with the main characters. So you start off with Kit and his father Johnny, who are important. Are very important. So Johnny Rook deals in information and secrets, even though he can't do magic or was a shadow hunter or anything. He's supposed to be completely normally human, but he's not. And he kept it a secret from his son. So Johnny Rook was actually a long-last member of the Herondale family, as Jonathan Herondale and his son Christopher Herondale. Jonathan didn't want anything to do with the Shadow Hunter, so he tried to keep his son out of it. And that totally backfired in the end of the book, because in the end of the book, Christopher has to live with the Black Thorns because his father gets murked in front of him. Okay? That's literally what happens. And, I feel bad that Kit watched his father completely and utterly get torn apart like chicken. But Johnny deserved it because Johnny was a two-faced, okay? Okay. And on top of that, he was keeping family from family. All because he probably thought he was abandoned, but in truth, his family was being saved. His family. Because his father, or is his grandfather, somebody was accused of doing something bad. And since the man was dead, his wife, who was pregnant at the time, was punished instead. Which, of course, the Blackthorns and Emma didn't like at all. They hated that. So they thought that was disgusting. Of course, there's a lot of things like the Blackthorns model. No law. A bad law is no law. Yeah. They don't follow bad laws. So Jason has more family members now. Yay! The Herondale is bigger than I thought it would be. And there's even Tess. I think her name is Tess. Tessa Gray. She used to be a Herondale. And she's actually dating a Carstairs. Who Emma didn't know was her ancestor, because if you're a silent brother, you can live for a very, very, very long time, as long as you're a silent brother. And that's what James Carstairs did. He became brother Zachariah, and then when he stepped down to be with Tessa, whom he loved, he just became Jem. And human again. And the point where he can die. But he's old as dirt, okay? Old as dirt. Emma Carstairs' parents were murdered 5 years ago during the time of the whole thing with Sebastian Morningstar attacking their lovely city of Idris. Yeah. Emma didn't think Sebastian did it because she had watched Julian dispatch his own father, Andrew, for, being a demon that was created by Sebastian Morningstar to protect his own siblings. Because he had no choice in the matter. It was either be killed or kill. And so he did. So she knew deep in her heart that Sebastian was not responsible for her parents' murder. And she was going to find out who. And throughout this whole journey, she finally learns that she's in love with Julian, her Parabatai, which she's not allowed to be. And then she learns that them falling in love can actually cause destruction to the whole family and everybody around them, and destroy them themselves. Julian has actually technically taken over as the leader for the Institute of Los Angeles for the Shadow Hunters there, because his uncle, Arthur Blackthorn, is a little woo-woo in the head because he was tortured. Nobody knows exactly what happened to him, but he's more in his own world, and he has to take this medicine that forces him back in reality, and it leaves him with a severe headache afterwards. An hour or so afterwards, it leaves him with a severe headache that he can't deal with, and he's got to go and hide. So Julian has been taking care of all of his younger siblings while trying to get back his older siblings, Helen and Mark, because they were both taken away from him, on running an institute. And realizing that he's totally, completely, and utterly in love with his Parvati. But doesn't think she's in love with him at first. When he finds out, she's like, we can be together. And then he doesn't know the consequences of falling in love with the Parvati. And so he doesn't understand why she's like, we can't be together. And she won't tell him, which is even crueler, because she's going to totally fucking tell him the truth. And they can work it out together. But instead, no, she's going to just torture him. And make him hate her. Yeah. Okay. So, Christina Rosales goes there from Mexico to do her 1 year away from her family because she thinks she needs to, because she felt like she was betrayed by her fiance, Diego Rosales. Different family, same last name. Okay. They're not related. There's a lot of Rosales out there, apparently, and they're not related. And Perfect Diego, who she thought was perfect, thought him and his brother were using her to take over the Mexican Institute that her mother ran. And she didn't like that, so she ran away from it and ignored them, feeling heartbroken. But she finds out that Diego did not agree with his brother at all. And shut that down. But obviously she didn't hear that part. He's madly in love with her, and she's still madly in love with him. But she's there being best friends with them. Chase Herondale and Clary Fairchild are in it very briefly towards the end, when they find out through Magnus Bane that a lot of dark necromancy has been going on in the city of Los Angeles, and they want to find out what's going on. They actually leave somebody's wedding for it, along with whoever to be there too. Okay, so alright, Mark Blackthorn. We're gonna start with the oldest child now of the Blackthorn family after Julian, because Julian's important. Okay, he was stolen 5 years ago by the Wild Hunt. He's half human, half fairy, and so he's stolen by the Wild Hunt to become part of the Wild Hunt, and the fairies will refuse to give him up, even though Julian and his family are like, bring our back our brother, rescue our brother, he's our brother, and they're like, no, he's half fairy. It's because the fairies agreed with Sebastian Morningstar that we're gonna have a cold peace. That means we can't help the fairies out, and we're not going to protect them anymore. They're all on their own. Every fairy's a bad fairy now. Instead of just being like the fairies that were in on it, you should just punish them and not all fairies. Because some people are just dickheads. Okay. So, Mark is brought back because a lot of fairies are dying. And they want the Blackthorns to find out who did it and present it to them for them to punish. Because they want to punish the person who's doing it. Because obviously they can't actually have the Shadow Hunters punish them anymore because they're not allowed to actually interact. So they're doing a little not obeying the law because Julian wants his brother back, and they want the murderer found. So the Wild Hunt gives up Mark for this, but Mark did not know how many years passed, and since being part of the Wild Hunt, he did not physically age as fast as the others did, and he didn't recognize him, and he went a little woohoo on that because he was like, no, this ain't real, you are my family, my youngest brother is a baby, they're all little kids, you can't be my family, it's all a trick to torture me. I'm part of the Wild Hunt, I'm loyal to them because it was beaten and whipped into him and everything like that. Even though he maintained for a very long time that he is a shadow hunter. Because that's what he was raised to be. And even though he now, at the end of the book, decided to be a shadow hunter again, he's still going to probably use parts of the wild hunt, because I don't think that can ever be taken away, to help out his family and everything. He did fall in love with Prince Kirian of the Unseelie Court, who was being punished by his father and given to the wild hunt. The two of them, oddballs that they were, fell in love. But the thing with fairies in this universe is that if you promise me your heart, you can be physical with whoever you want to be. But Kirian was very jealous about it, and he heard Mark tell Christina about how to rob Gwen, the leader of the wild hunt, his powers, and he told Iris and Arleth and Gwen about it, and so they came to punish him. Julian went to go take the punishment, but Emma knocked Julian out and took the punishment herself because she didn't want neither of them to get punished. And Kirian felt guilty about that because he thought it just meant that they were going to stop doing the deal and that Mark would come back to him because he didn't want to share Mark in any way, shape, or form. And when he finds out that it's Kirian's fault, he's like, "You're dead to me. We're enemies now forevermore. You hurt my family. And I'm not going to put up with that." Then you have Helen Blackthorn, half human, half fairy. They're both half siblings to Julian and the rest of the family because their mother was a full fairy that Andrew fell in love with. So there's that. Helen was sent to Antarctica to study wards, and the only time she was allowed back was when she married Alina Penhollow. And together they live in this one place, and she's not allowed to leave it. She's not allowed to go back into society. And they say it was to protect her because people were still mad about the fairies and they didn't want the harm to come to her. But that, like, you're not letting her visit. You're not letting them visit her. Hello, it's their sister. You know, the one that they raised with, the one that they love. And so, yeah, she's technically been exiled. Nothing they can do about it. Then you have it would be Olivia Blackthorn, or Livy, and her twin, Tiberius Blackthorn, Ty. Olivia is very good at what she does, and she learned a lot about technology, but she's more of a backhand person on that. She doesn't really understand a lot of what's going on in the technology world because they're not allowed to have human technology like computers and cell phones and things like that. Headphones too. And Ty is special in the head, and it's not a bad special. It's just that he can't take on things in a jokingly manner if you're not literal about something, or if you don't explain it to him first, he won't understand. And he has a hard time grasping certain things that normal people would grasp, but he's extremely smart, and he taught himself how to use a computer. He taught himself how to do a lot of stuff, and he's still a very good shadow hunter. It's just he's more of the research type of person. And I think that's a wonderful thing. Ty can do things when he wants to, but if he doesn't want to, he can't do them. And it's unfair that he's not actually allowed to fight with using music, even though that's what makes him more pumped up, more amped to do things, is listening to music as a soothing thing. And when people don't understand that, it's difficult for it to explain that, hey, this helps them. It helps them in a way that they need, and you shouldn't take it away from them. And Ty wants to go study at a school called Shulman's, which is like making centaurians who are powerful, stronger, smarter, shadow hunters. He wants to go study there. But Julian doesn't want him to go because he knows that he's going to get shunted into the low pile of low priority and picked on and probably beaten up and everything because of the way he is. And he doesn't want that to happen to Ty because nobody deserves that. but because the Shadowhunters are so rigid, they would actually retire Arthur and put him in a loony bin, and probably kick Ty out, because Ty doesn't qualify for Shadowhunter, because obviously being born with Angel's blood, you shouldn't have anything go wrong with you. You should be solid and normal, what they believe to be normal. But Ty is normal. Ty is just his normal, and I like the way that Julian wants to protect him from that, and that Julian accepts him that way, and Julian helps him with everything in that way. And then there's Drusilla Blackthorn, or Drew. She's the second youngest, and she has her own little things going on, and the way she's coping with the world is that she's into movies and mysteries, like thrillers and stuff like that. So she would really like Stephen King and watching true crime shows and everything like that. The one thing I don't like, they did gloss over the fact that Drusilla, she didn't know, okay? She didn't know. She gave her baby brother, the youngest of them all, to the person that was murdering fairies. But that was because the person was a trusted person for their family. Somebody that helped them out a lot. Babysat for them and helped them and everything. And they didn't know that this person was just biding his time before trying to kill one of them. And they glossed over her feelings on that, because it should have been more misery, more pain, more, oh my god, what the hell did I do? And it's just like, oh my god, no. And then like, yeah, let's go get him. I'm hoping book 2 goes in a little more into that. Maybe Drusilla becomes a little more protective of Octavian and won't let him out of her sight very often. And Octavian Blackthorn, Tavy, he was just a baby when his father was killed, when the whole thing with Sebastian Morgenstern happened. But he still has nightmares about it, because he was like one years old. And so now he's like, or 2 or 3, I don't know. He's like 7 or 8 now, and he's just like, no, 6 or 8, 6 or 7. And he's just this cute little thing that needs a mommy and a daddy, and he's got Julian, who goes in and stays with him during nightmares and does what needs to be done. Like Julian learned how to change diapers, how to feed children, how to cook. How to make sure that every single one of them got the needs that they needed in the way that they needed it, so they could grow up and be strong, powerful people. And when Octavian Tavy realized that he was, kidnapped and almost ritually sacrificed, it gave him nightmares, which is really sad, because dude, the kid didn't need more nightmares. He was already freaking traumatized as a baby. So there's that. That's the whole them that was needed in that. The next person, I'm gonna mention the angel Raziel, the one who gave him all the blood, who made all the rules and laws, set them down, including the Parabate, information. And I didn't realize, he's a little bit of a dick and everything. I don't think all the laws that they go by that he passed down, or all the laws that they're passing down, or Side Angel, are right in a way. Like, sure, you gave them blood, and Jonathan Arundel was ancestor was the first one to get it and everything. I mean, like, come on. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't like that. You have Diana Wraithburn. You don't really know anything about her. I'm pretty sure you might know stuff about her if you read the Mortal Instruments, or it might be the the Infernal Instruments. I'm not sure, but you don't really understand what her past is. But she agreed to help tutor the Blackthorns and everything, and then she helped them out with this keeping quiet about Mark, because she wanted Mark to come back too, because it's not fair. It's not fair at all. It really is, and I don't like that. Then the most important evil guy in the entire thing is Malcolm Fade, who was a warlock for Los Angeles. Just like Magnus Bane is a warlock for New York, Malcolm Fade was a warlock for Los Angeles. Now, the reason why he's an evil dick is because he held what happened to the love of his life against every black thorn that existed, instead of the ones that were responsible for it. So he was in love with a woman named Annabelle Lee. Annabelle Lee Blackthorn. When her parents found out about her being in love with a warlock, they sent her, they imprisoned her in something or another. I don't really remember what it was. And they also called her Lady Midnight. And then lied, saying that she became an Iron Sister, which is a vampire, I think. I'm not sure. I really don't know what Iron Sisters are. But anyways, when he found out that they lied to him, he thought everybody else did, like Magnus Bane and Katrina Loss and Tess and Jem, that she became an Iron Sister, which they all thought she did. They didn't even know that they were lied to as well. He wanted his revenge and to bring her back because she died. So he spent years and years and years and years looking for something, and he found it with the Unseelie King, who gave him a clue to how to bring her back, and that dealt with finding a black book, which he eventually did, that said you have to have like 13 hands of a murderer plus the blood of a blackthorn in order to bring back the love of your life. So that's what he does. He makes people murderers, and he cuts off their hand that murdered, so that way he could finally get his love of his life back. He actually worked to see if it would work on murdering Shadowhunters first. And yes, he's the one who murdered Emma's parents, because he tested it on them first and it was a failure, so he just sent them out to sea and bided his time. He was going to sacrifice Tavy to do it, and when Tavy was rescued, thanks to Mark, Kieran, Jillian, Diana, Drusilla, Olivia, and Ty, and Emma, all of them working together, they rescued him, and he was going to go after Drusilla. And so what happened is that Emma got intervened, and she fought against him, and he trapped her and said, well, I'm going to kill you, and then I'm going to go get them, and everything's going to be good. But she ends up sending him into the ocean where there are demons, and the demons kill him, and he dies. And Jem and Tessa are going to go into the ocean to get the hands back, because they got to destroy that, because who knows who else might try to use it, and it's a terrible artifact. But yeah, that's that. And then the very end is the epilogue is Annabelle opens her eyes. So Annabelle Lee is actually revived thanks to the death of her lover, Malcolm Fade. So he ends up reviving her anyway, but it's useless because he's dead. Yeah, that's everything. So my favorite character was Emma. Like, no quarters, and she really pushed herself, and they actually wanted her to go to the Sholomancy school to make her a centurion, but she didn't want to leave Jillian's side. But yeah, she pushed herself and injured herself and trained and taught herself to do things. And it's like, I'm going to do what I can, even though she makes a bunch of mistakes, she still does the best that she can. And in the end, she killed Malcolm Fade. My most disliked character was Malcolm Fade, trying to revive his dead girlfriend, and he did not care that he was hurting her descendants as punishment for her parents killing her. Julian's and his family, his father, his uncle, his siblings, none of them were at fault for what happened to Annabelle Lee. It's been over centuries. It's been several centuries since that happened. It is not their fault, or a century. It's not their fault. They weren't there. They weren't the ones that did it. You can't punish them. You can't hate them for something they didn't do. It was their ancestors. Punish the ancestors, not them. You can't punish people for what their ancestors did, because it's not their fault. They didn't choose what their ancestors did. They didn't choose the path of their history, so you can't punish them for something that they had no physical hand in. So, that's actually what stood out as memorable. Like, he literally hated all Blackthorns, regardless if they were alive at that time or not. He hated them all. And that's why he was going to sacrifice Tavy, the youngest. My favorite passage from the story is, I was dying. I should be dead. The world wouldn't come. They were like a dam. The words wouldn't come. They were like a dam. And behind them were so many other words. I'm not sure about anything. I hate being in charge. I hate making the decisions. I'm terrified of losing you. I'm terrified of losing Mark. I'm terrified of losing Emma. I want someone to take over. I'm not as strong as you think. The things I want are wrong and broken things to want. He knew he could say none of this. The facade he showed them, his children, had to be perfect. A crack in him would be like a crack in the world to them. That's Julian when he pulls out his brother Ty, because he was going to tell Ty, hey, look, I don't want you to go to the Showmancy school because they're not going to treat you right. But he's like, I can't say none of this. I can't tell them anything that's happened. I can't tell them how I really feel because they're not going to understand. I'm their parent. They're my children. I raised them. They're mine. And I got to be perfect. I got to have no crack in me. They can't know that I'm breaking at the seams over everything I'm doing. Of course, now he's got Mark to help him out, but Mark has been away for 5 years. He doesn't remember being human. So, he's got his work cut out for him. And now Emma's distancing himself from him, trying to break his heart so he'll stop loving her by pretending to fall in love with Mark. That's terrible. Okay. My favorite quote: Lex mala, lex nulla. A bad law is no law. What I thought about the ending of the book. Annabelle woke up. Now what is going to happen? Emma and Julian can't be together. Emma wants to pretend to be dating Mark. Mark wants a date for real. The mess that is happening at the end of this book. Such a mess. There is no good ending to this. This is not a good ending. This is a cliffhanger, and it's a terrible cliffhanger. And it's I don't want to strangle the author for making this cliffhanger. What is it with you and making couples that can't be together in the beginning? Yes, Clary and Jace can be together in the end. I am so freaking happy about that. And yes, Jem and Tessa can be together in the end, but Malcolm and Annabelle couldn't be. I mean, Magnus is with his boyfriend, Alec, and they have a son. They have an adopted son. Oh, it's so cute. That is so wonderful. I am so happy for those characters. But why do you make their life difficult to begin with? I know in the second book it's going to be a lot of angst. It's going to be a lot of terrible stuff going on. And they're going to be such an emotional mess. But I hope book 3 heals them because they need it. And they need it a lot. So what did the book remind me of? Well, the Mortal Entrance, because that's basically the same world. Obviously, it is the same world, and it's the only type of world I've read about this kind of stuff. Although I gotta say, this title, I don't know if this should be a good title. I mean, like, sure, it's Lady Annabelle, but Lady Annabelle doesn't end an actual thing. It's just talked about her. It's just revolves around her, but you don't know about it until like this. I mean, like, you don't learn about it until later on. So it's just, I don't know. I don't like the title. So as you know, this is part of a series. It's called The Dark Artifices, and it has 3 books in it. I have put Lord of Shadows in. I just gotta pick it up for the book haul. A book haul. In the future. Well, technically, I'll tell you now. I have already picked it up, but I'm waiting to pick up a few more books to do a book haul. So, unless I actually draw it before I do the book haul, yeah. I'm not gonna do anything until I have the book haul. So there you go. I read this before. Because a lot of authors do this in a series. Okay, they do this in the series. They have the classic at the end of the first book. The main couple. They're not a couple. Because of course that's how it is. They get together in the beginning of the book. And they realize they're in love with each other. They get together in the middle of the book. And then they break up in the end of the book because for some reason they can't be together. And then you have the second book, which is full of angst of them maybe getting back together and breaking up again. And then you have the third book, which is still full of angst and them getting back together at the very end of the book when everything's fine. Literally how it goes. And that's the reason why I'm getting it for. Because of the cliche breakup at the end of the first book of a series. So, I will see you next solution.